Everybody, what's going on? Bones the Goat, aka Corey Sturkey. We're here again with another episode of Conversations That Cure with my brother
Michael Ryder, aka Ryder Grooms.
Gregory Sturkey, Pops.
So the last episode we kind of broke into one of the different variations of relationships, and I shared one of my perspectives on it. But this episode, Pops is going to take his angle on a specific aspect of relationships. So we give the floor to you.
You know, I look at the difference between when I was born and the things that I had to go through when I was coming up, and then the generation that y'all two are born in. And there is such a disconnect with your own self, your own personal identity, because we can go on social media. We look at social media and it's like feeding us these big, spectacular dreams. Everybody wants to be like this one. Everybody want to go here. And when I was coming up, we didn't have social media. We just had, boys that we was hanging around. The most that I would say I was concerned about coming up was being accepted by the crew, trying to fit in. That was it. It was just my little circle. I wasn't exposed to the world the way y'all are. So to me coming up, I didn't have to deal with half of the stuff that y'all dealt with. And everything that's on social media now, it attacks identity. It attacks who you are. It attacks where you're going. I think it's easier now to feel like you're more of a failure than more successful. And I believe I say that because of the stage that it's placed upon, and then the fact that both of y'all are in the barbering game. Both of y'all got a name for yourselves. You go out and you speak already. You're starting to do cuts and stuff, demonstrating cuts and everything. Everybody know you for that beautiful beard and stuff you got. And it's like, if you get on stage and you're seen, how do you deal with staying in touch with your true self? Because the way society is today, it's like somewhat, you have to build an image somewhat to be like accepted. How do you work through something like that when you get on that stage? How do you stay connected with yourself? Because I can't even imagine coming up. I used to just think about, I'm going to make sure my boys accept me. That was it. And that was like maybe 3 or 4 of them. Y'all are in front of millions of people. Because Instagram takes you around the world. And then you get feedback on your Instagram posts. How do you stay connected?
I think for myself, it's the simplest thing is just staying true to your authentic self, like who you are, right? Like I didn't sign with any big companies or anything like that for years, because it's like I want to make sure that like where I go has a fit, right? Because I don't want to have to change who I am as a person. I don't want to have to change the way I look, the way I speak, the way I act for anybody. And that was one reason I became a barber, is because I wanted to be as true to who I am, my morals, and what I stand for more than anything, right? So even when it comes to aligning myself with certain companies and things like that, I have to make sure that you're not going to try to strip me away from who I am myself, and you want me to play this character. I can't allow myself to become a character or just who everybody else expects me to be, because I know who I am. I have a relationship with myself that I don't need anybody else's approval except for myself, right? So if it means just being Ryder and not aligning with the company or being on a stage or anything like that, that's okay, because at the end of the day, I go to sleep and I'm okay with who Ryder is,
So how did you get to that place? Because that's a solid place of self-belief. And to say that if you go and sign with a company, when I hear a company, especially nowadays, you think of this.
Yeah.
So how did you get to that place to say, I'm going to lay my own values down, and when I go sign with a company, I don't care what they say?
I think for myself, it's just all the work that I put in over the past 9.5, 10 years of like getting sober, really finding out like who I am as a human being, you know, through like daily self checks and meditation and prayer and like getting a relationship with God and things like that to figure out like, oh, like once again, who I am as a person, doing those little tasks and really figuring out what I like in life, what I don't like in life, what I can accept, what I cannot accept, right? The non-negotiables that Corey always talks about, figuring out all those things to be like, okay, these are like the core morals and values of my life, right? Doing little work on myself by like I said, even like journaling. Like I said, one of my biggest things is my daily self checks, right? And in recovery, we learn like a self check system throughout the day, right? Was I selfish, fearful, dishonest, right? Where did I do those things throughout my day? Using tools like that, right? Just having a little checklist. Was I fearful today? Was I dishonest? Was I selfish? Okay, where did these aspects crop up in my life throughout the day? Using that type of tool helps me on a daily basis.
How do you deal with saying, am I fearful? What man is going to sit up and admit that I was afraid of something? How did you get to that?
To find out that I was fearful within life, it's having the self-awareness and the realization that like there's a lot of aspects and there's a lot of actions that we do out of fear, right? Like I might tell a lie out of fear because I don't want you to realize who I really am deep down inside, right? I got 250,000 in the bank because I don't want you to know I'm broke, right? Little things like that. That is an action out of fear that I told that lie or something like that, right? I might do something or act a certain way out of fear. So it's just the realization of why I'm doing certain actions that helps me identify that fear, you know?
So you were able to develop that to where you did not have to create a character and don't worry about if you didn't have money in the bank. Because right now, money in the bank is a big thing, especially with a man, especially on the platform that y'all are on. And you were able to say and find that strength within yourself to, you know, be completely honest with yourself. And how much do you value? What are one of the things that you do that you can say you value a lot to connect you, to keep you connecting to yourself, and why?
Number one thing I do to connect to myself is meditation. That's my number one tool. And me and Corey have had countless conversations about it, right? It's the one thing where the only two things I think about in that moment are the current moment and God. Those are the only two things I want to think about in that moment, right? Because those two things help me reconnect with myself in that exact moment, right? There's nothing else out there. Just focusing on my breathing, sitting with myself. And it doesn't even have to be for long periods of time. It could be a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is. But just really honing in and focusing and speaking to myself and allow God to speak to me in those moments.
What are some of the things that you say to yourself in that time?
That's it. Most of the time I chant. It's almost like a chant in the beginning, right? Just to get the mind to quiet. It's God, current moment, God in current moment, God in current moment. Prayer, and I've heard him speak on it on plenty of platforms before, and it's when you pray, you're asking, right? You're speaking to your higher power, whatever it is, right? When you meditate, I'm not speaking. I'm listening and waiting for the responses to my prayers, right? I was taught that early on in my recovery journey. That's one of the biggest things that's always stuck with me. In meditation, I don't have to sit there and look and seek. I just have to sit there and be an open vessel to receive.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Same for you. How did you?
Yeah, about to say, because he has, and I've heard you speak countlessly about it, and I always commend you, and it's one of the biggest things I love about you and your story, because when you talk about the difference between Corey and Bones, right? Like the distinction of that relationship, how did that, let's speak on that a little bit.
Well, Bones was, initially Bones just started off as like a brand. You know, it was a way for me to brand myself on social media. Everybody had names. Nobody used like their name on social media. On Instagram, everybody had a name. So I came up with Bones. And originally it was Bones because I'm skinny. And then the GOAT was just like a constant reminder not to rest on your laurels, that the thing that you accomplished yesterday are irrelevant. What are you doing each day to be a better version of yourself? It was never to say I was better than anybody. But over time, it changed because I couldn't handle the attention. I couldn't handle the position of leadership that came with it. I couldn't handle the responsibility that came with my platform. and I abused it. And I abused it through social media, and I abused it with myself. And I say I abused it with myself because I ignored Corey along that time because I wasn't happy with who Corey was, but I was in complete control of who Bones is, or how the perception of how I wanted Bones to be perceived or accepted or viewed amongst the world. So when I was able to create Bones, it was this flashy nigga, you know, loud, outspoken, brash, very cutthroat, straight to the point, come off as extremely confident when I walk in the room. But it was really just like a projection of the things that I was dealing with as Corey. You know, I was very insecure. I didn't see my place there. I felt like I wasn't living the life that I was portraying on social media. So over time, once I began to see the effects that it was having on me as a human being, like as a person, it was like kind of God like reminded me, was like, if Corey's not okay, Bones doesn't exist.
So let me ask you a quick question. Do you feel that it's okay to be insecure? Is that a bad thing to feel insecure?
I don't feel it's a bad thing. I feel like it's a bad thing when you use that as an excuse not to grow.
Okay. All right.
You know,
Yeah.
like everybody's flawed. We all have things that we struggle with on a daily basis, you know, that we don't like about ourselves. But I feel like it only becomes a problem when you turn it into your reality. You know, where you accept like, hey, I'm very insecure about this, and this is just what it is. Once I started to see like once my insecurities got so loud, because that's really what happened. It wasn't like there was an aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get it together. It got to the point where I lost myself.
So there was times where you heard your insecurity speak to you and you ignored it. So it's
I ignored it because I didn't have to address them because I had Bones.
Yeah. But you still heard it. That was your intuition talking to you. You always heard it.
I heard
so it was there.
It was there, and I ignored it because I knew the work that it would take to get to where I needed to be.
Okay. All right.
And the work intimidated me. The work intimidated me so much to the point where I was okay with just living as Bones. But then I started to think, I was like, when I went to Lebanon, and then my trip to Turkey too, like going over there and seeing what the value of life or life is really about, and what things we should subscribe to, and what things are really important in life, your family, your community, your integrity, your character, and most importantly, your relationship with God. And then me as a father, once I kind of went over there, and I was like, I had just that time with God where it was like, no, like, it was kind of like God had to reiterate to me, like, no, this is who you are. This is who you are. Bones is what you do. It's what you created. But this is who you are. When Instagram dies, there's no more Bones. It's Corey. Then what? Then who are you? So once I was able to realize that these things that I was chasing, this character that I was building, this persona, perception I was trying to project to the world, it's all meaningless. It had no value. It had no substance to it. It was like Monopoly money.
You know, I was listening to I watched this show on Netflix, and it's NASCAR drivers, and I forget the guy's name, but one of the things he did, they interviewed him. They said that the narrator said that this guy, he's arrogant. When he's around the people, he's around the other drivers, he's cocky. He'll walk up to you, you're gonna lose. You ain't gonna win this race. And he would walk around with that attitude. And the narrator said, in order to handle that level of success, you have to create a beast. But when you saw him at home,
Be a different person.
it was two different people. So how would you, do you feel that that's okay?
Yes, because I feel like that's what I've been able to do now. You know, and Ryder will tell you, Ryder sees how I am after the shows. I'm exhausted. And I just want to just chill. I just want to be silent. Like he'll tell you, like I'll leave some events sometimes and just go out to my room. I was like, bro, I just need an hour
Check out.
just to be with Corey. Because I got to make sure that balance is always there. Because Bones is a beast.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's an animal. When I walk into the room, it's like, yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
But that's not, you can't live like that all the time. And I had to learn how to leave Bones at the events. You know, I had to learn how to leave Bones at the social media issues. Like once I was able to figure out, all right, this is the cutoff. It's like I was like a wrestler. I was like Stone Cold or The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The Rock is
yeah.
The Rock. He's Dwayne Johnson every day, but on WWF, he's The Rock.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Steve Austin is Steve Austin in regular life, but on WWF, he's Stone Cold.
Yeah.
I had to learn the balance, but I was only able to accomplish or realize that balance once I realized my value of who I am as a person.
Okay.
Once I was able to see the value that Corey really has and work on those things, it made Bones better.
Okay.
I feel, and it's like, even right now, what's going on, like there's like this fake barber beef with this guy in the industry, and everybody's saying like, yo, I want the old Bones back. And I caught myself getting into it, a back and forth with a guy, and at the end of it, I apologized to him. But the old Bones, I would have never did that. I would have really took it there, you know, been posting it all over. But now it's like, for what?
So now you understand the separation
Yeah.
of building the brand, presenting that out there so people can tap into their strength and mature it, but don't carry it and bring it home. But even, how did you deal with when you discovered that you had to separate Bones from Corey with a son? How did you deal with your son? Because your son saw Bones and he saw Corey.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? What was your guidance with your son?
As far as what, like going with
Dealing with all of your insecurities. How did you deal with that? Because, you know, as children, for instance, your sister, I had to call your sister because I was listening to a book, and in the book, they was talking about how kids can feel abandonment through fear. And you remember that time I had forgot to pick up Nene from school. I think she was like 6 or 7 years old. And she stood out there, and I knew she was petrified, but I think I was so stressed out. I think with work or something had happened. I had to run and get it, and I was praying on the way there. So as soon as I was in the book and I heard that story, that thought automatically came to me. So I had to call her up. And when I called her up, I said to her, I said, you know, I reminded her, I said, did this cause you to feel abandonment? Did this bring fear in your life? And once I saw, you know, me dealing with those things, I went back to her. And I sat down and I spoke to her about it to let her know, you know, even, you know, we spoke on it before and I apologize, but I just need to go back to make sure because there was new lessons that I learned and I didn't just let it go. You know what I'm saying? Let it go, because that fear was something I hid on the inside. And no matter what we do, our intentions will always speak up. So how did you deal with what was going on the inside with the separation of Bones and Gold with your son, Kai? How did you deal with that, you know, with him?
I had to sit back and really think about what core values am I teaching him, and what does he see, and do I want him to be this person? And that's what got me. Because I don't want him to feel like he doesn't have any value and that he has to create somebody or put on a front. So I had to sold the shop. I took a step back because it was like, I've been traveling for 10 years. I missed a lot of stuff with the kids, but I did it for them. But learning that, you know, they need time, that was the most important thing to me. So once I was able to realize that and kind of detach from things that brought fear to me, stressed me out, it allowed me to instill into him what really matters in the real characteristics of a man, and how you should be, you know, integrity in your character and things like that. And being himself and let him know, like, yo, man, like, you're enough.
Yeah.
You're enough. And I didn't feel like I was enough.
And that's so, I'm going to cut you off. I think that's so important that as a man, you always hear women say they struggle with being that they're enough. Every time you hear something, the women are ones that struggle. It's so important to know that men struggle with the fact, feeling like, are they enough?
Yeah.
Are they enough? And I think that's so important that you bring that out, you know, to put out there that it's okay to have that struggle. because it's a real struggle.
One thing, a big thing was I remember as a kid, when you came home from work, it didn't matter how long your day was. You made time to play with us. And I started to think like, man, I'm getting off of work 7, 8, I'm coming home and he's asleep. And bro, he just be wanting to play the game.
Yeah.
He just be wanting to watch a movie with me. So once I started focusing on Corey and building Corey and putting Bones where Bones needed to be at work and at events, I started to see how important and how much I enjoy just being with my kids. And now I have such a sense of freedom now that I could just be there with him. I feel like I pour into him now more than I ever have in his 10 years of his life. Because now I feel like I'm pouring from a cup that's not empty.
Yes.
You know, and I'm not teaching him how to mask his problems. I'm teaching him how to confront them.
I love that.
You know, I'm not teaching him to create something, an easy way out or a shortcut. I'm showing him like, no, you got to go through these things because these lessons are important. You know, and I teach him those things. But by me doing that, it's also giving me more fulfillment, and it's made me want to dig deeper into who Corey is.
Yeah, yeah. And I commend you.
You know?
Yeah, I commend you on that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when I was coming up, you know, as a father, you really don't have instructions on what to do. So we basically bring our children up based upon what we missed and, you know, what we feel what they need at the time. Whatever that pressure, that pain was on us, we try to make sure our kids never experience that again. So long story short, we try to keep our kids from pain.
But they need it.
But they need that pain. Because if you don't do that, but when I was growing up, I raising y'all, I realized this one thing. It took me a while to realize is that y'all never paid attention to what I said. Y'all paid attention to the example I set. And I had to learn that you don't run away from your fears because you're raising a family and you got kids. Your kids don't need perfect parents. Your kids need an example of how the world is today. The most successful people have bust their behinds and got back up. Jesus died, but rose again. So there must be a going down and a coming up. So we got to be able to allow our children to see, not hide it from them, because then we're giving them a false sense of life.
Yeah.
But I think that is so, I mean, for you to say that and for him Kai to be able to see that. Because, you know, as men, we don't want our children, we feel being weak is no good. We feel crying in front of them is no good. That's weakness. But a man that can admit that I was wrong.
I think it was so hard. What was really hard for me is because I'm his hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was hard having to go back and take accountability for areas where I felt like I dropped the ball or I could have done more. Like, perfect example, he couldn't come with me this weekend to Jacksonville, so I'm going to spend time with him right now. Because it's that important to me. It does, and no, it does a lot for him, but it does so much for me. It does so much for me because I know he watches everything that I do. And God, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I saw that the person that I was having an effect on him. And he was starting to pick up some of the negative things that I was doing because I wasn't taking the time to work on Corey. I wasn't taking the time to work on Corey. So now, like, I'm not perfect, you know, but I'm in a better space because now I'm more conscious of the problems.
Yeah,
And now I know how to handle them now.
And then we defined in our lives what a hero is.
Yeah.
We defined that. You know, when you said the first thing I thought about was Superman, when the very first Superman I saw, he was trying to be at two places at one time and he couldn't, and Lois Lane died. She died, but he had to go back around and spin the world back around so he can reverse time. But the point was, she died. She died. He thought he was going to be that good enough where he can save her, but she died. But what did he do? He got the opportunity to make it right. And I don't think, being a hero, it's the hero that we create our heroes. And even when Christ was about to get crucified, the burden of what he had to do was on him. And the disciples saw him fall to his knees. And he said, God, in other words, this cup is heavy, what I'm getting ready to go through. He acknowledged that this mess is hard, but he didn't run from it. He didn't have to create a character. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you'll stand and still rise up. Because, to me, a hero is somebody that can fall and get back up and come back stronger. That's a hero to me. I'm sorry.
That's something I had to learn. Because as a parents, we want to be, we want to be perfect.
Yeah, we do.
You don't want to disappoint your kids. But I had to learn, like, even in this, I say it all the time, I had to show myself grace.
Yeah.
I've only been a dad for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't been doing it for a long time. I've only been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's so much, it'd be so much pressure. But I know that I'm built for it.
Yes.
I know that I'm built for it. And I know that I love him and I love Nova so much that I'll die trying.
Yes.
And I could say that with peace in my heart. I will die trying to be the best father that I can be.
Yes.
And the best example
Yes.
that I can be with them.
Yes.
So it's like I prioritize my time. Once I was able to prioritize my time, it gave me the opportunity to really invest in my relationship with Kai and show him.
You said something that was powerful. I want to ask you this, is that how do you show yourself grace?
By allowing myself to fall short.
Ooh.
If I always set my expectation up here,
Can you
Michael
just
needs
say that one more time? How do you show yourself grace?
by allowing myself to fall short.
Oof.
Because I'm going to. I'm human. If I set my expectations up here and I hit here, guess what? I'm going to be down on myself. But guess what? I might have started down here.
Come on.
And if I can at least go up a little bit, that 1% better every day, that's better than no momentum or no growth at all. So even in my moments when I'm really trying to move forward and I might fall short, or on a day-to-day basis where I fall short, that's okay.
That's
But at least
okay.
if we're moving forward, something was done.
Yes.
Fabio told me something years ago, and I still remember it to this day. We were talking about that, like having grace with yourself, and he was like, imagine you make a goal to save $100 in a month. And at the end of the month, you have $99. Was that month a failure? Was that month a failure because you didn't make the $100?
Still saved.
You forgot about that 99 that you did. He said it's so important to show yourself grace, because we don't allow, sometimes because we don't hit exactly what we want, we forget about where we came from and where we started.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And,
Yes.
and that was so, like when he told me that, that was an aha moment. I was like, damn. That is right. I have come pretty far. So once I have like that, I think of that analogy, I may not have got $100, then I got $90.
Yeah. I just want to say this. The thing that I learned listening to that story is this. When we set goals, we always would focus on the outcome. But the one thing we got to remember, the outcome is not certain. It does not mean that it's going to happen exactly the way we want it to happen. But what is certain, we can count on, is the changes and the person we become in striving to make it. You may not have got the $100, but you've developed self-discipline. You've developed consistency. You developed focus. You developed more accountability. And it's the thing that we need to focus on is the journey. Who are we becoming on the journey, not the outcome? Because if we just focus on the outcome, we forget that it's the journey you develop and become strong, and that part of you will allow you to tackle anything in life.
I agree. But we're going to wrap this up, y'all. We appreciate y'all for another episode. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Stay tuned for our live streams as well. We'll be doing those bi-weekly.
Yeah, I'm open. Let's
Do
do it.
those bi-weekly so we can have this actual engagement with you guys, so we can answer your questions and interact with you in live time. So stay tuned for those flyers. We'll be posting those on our social media. Make sure follow us on our social media platforms too. And if you have any questions or topics that you feel you want to hear us discuss, shoot us a DM, leave a comment on the videos, or leave a comment on our Instagram too. We'll do our best to get back to you. My name is Bones the Goat.
Michael Ryder.
Gregory Sturkey.
It's another episode of Conversation at Cure. See y'all later.